Good evening. Welcome to the Memoirs. So glad to have you here. This is where we obsess about Napoleon, but in a bizarre new way. The biggest question possible for me, my entire life, is can it be possible that Napoleon is among us? And I started doing this project back in 2014, kind of out of a sense of hopelessness, feeling that there was no future for me in this world the way it was. I already knew too much by 2014. I had worked in media, and I actually had some really interesting experiences on the dark web. And that is how I figured out how to pay off my college loan, which I came to view as a sort of scam. Even though I did get a pretty good education, I was kind of stuck in an indentured servitude for that education that was so interesting. And I did get to study in Paris, and I did get to learn a lot of cultural things. I think you can learn cultural things in college. I don't know how much truth you're going to learn. I think you're going to be very indoctrinated into the system. But for me, I was studying art and history. So I think I actually learned a lot of true things. And I had to figure out how to pay that thing off. And I realized I nothing about my college education was going to create a situation where I could pay it off. And I had to do really strange things to pay that loan off. So I felt like we're being put into situations where we become compromised, even though we don't want to be, because the market is not free and it's being run for the benefit of the people who presently own it. I just hope so much that we'll all look within ourselves to find out what we can do spiritually in our hearts to find out how to get free, because we really are being enslaved by a financial system which is being run by ruthless criminals, unfortunately. I think they have a lot of wonderful reasons why everything they do is okay. And frankism is a great place to look for all the excuses that they use, why it's okay for them to enslave the masses and uh, trip us up and whatever paradoxical things that they do to us. So, to embark on this project, I wanted to develop my spiritual abilities. And I decided to ask God to give me a hero's journey, which he did give me. I wanted to see if it was possible. Of course, I knew that doing the hero's journey would be as dangerous as can be, particularly in a world overrun by organized crime. And I was very worried about organized crime at that time because I knew that it was very much a part of our lives, and I couldn't go along with it. So it was a little suicidal to go into this. My mentality was, I won't live. I know I live under a reign of organized crime. Nobody knows that better than I do, and particularly now. But I knew that then. I know because I live in a very rich area. So put two and two together. Very rich areas have a lot of organized crime because that's what it takes to get rich, is to get involved with organized crime. I knew that. I knew I couldn't go along with it. So now that I have learned a lot of truth, of course, I don't know everything. And now that I have developed supernatural abilities, pretty strong ones, I can't almost talk to anybody now because what's happening to me is so outside of the norm, and people are so programmed to think that life is just sports games and shopping and Christmas time or whatever. You know, these things on television that are fake, basically. And what I'm experiencing is, I don't think very fake at all, but the worst part is the spiritual experience that I'm having involves a famous person. So now I'm really crazy, and I know it, and I know that that's the worst thing. And the triple worst thing about it. It's not just a famous person, but it's something involving Napoleon. So every single thing about this is somehow like pre-designed to make me sound completely insane. But I prove it and I prove it and I prove it and I prove it. And I prove it to myself every day. I experience it every day. My project has been taken over telepathically by someone who cannot email me, call me, talk to me, and it's so shocking that the organized criminals who buy our governments and set the rules and create these traps and rigged situations to hold us back so they can hold on tight to that financial Ponzi scheme that keeps them awash in money so they can bribe people and they can keep going and they don't have to deal with uh, consequences for anything that they do. Those people have sent thugs to my house repeatedly. And as I keep saying, look, the Constitution is being infringed in my state. And if I leave the house with a firearm, I'm a criminal, even though I have criminals after me who surely would have firearms. And I'm not saying I even could leave the house with a firearm and defend myself. My point is that I can't. And because I understand that I am being intimidated, and that's very legal to intimidate me for exercising my rights in the United States. I'm only telling the truth. I'm only learning things and sharing them. And I am doing what everyone in the media should be doing. And everyone in the media knows that they should be doing it. And I know there are lots of people in the media who agree with me, who understand that we are in a very compromised position. I do see that support and I do appreciate it. And I really want to say, I get it. I have worked in media. I have been saying this for years. I understand media is a really fun kind of job. And when you have a talent for that, it's where you want to be. And it is worthwhile and you can reach a lot of people. And then once you get in it, you find out that very strange people are pulling the strings at media. As soon as you get in there, you start to see like the strings from the puppet master because the media is how minds are being controlled around the world. So that media has to be really under control. And I know there's a lot of people in the media who want it to be real media and want us to be free and want us to educate the public, not trick the public. So I know there's a lot of good people in media, and I have worked in media, and I know that. So it's not about vilifying the media and the people in the media, and it's we're all living under this jackboot of fascism that has everything to do with organized crime and financial trickery. And I say this every day, but I think it needs to be said all the time, constantly by everyone until it stops. Because one thing I know about this criminal crowd is they do not like to hear anything negative about themselves and they don't like to be asked questions. So much of what they do is so we just will be shut down and won't talk and just sit there and watch the television and get fat and die. It's about not having us awake and thinking. And this project very much makes me look crazy. And that's because we've been programmed to think that these things are crazy because the things that I am doing here are about freedom and independent thought. They want you to think that it's normal to sit in front of the television and eat Cheetos and wait for the game on Sunday and they get to work on Monday. They want you to think that that's life. It's not. Life is having an adventure and doing something. And right now, I'm being very constrained because of the bioterrorism publicity campaign. The reason I call it a bioterrorism publicity campaign is A, I know a publicity campaign from a mile off, okay? And no, I don't find out what I'm going to do medically with myself from an army of publicists being rolled out from the city of London. Absolutely not. If you look into this, this is all straight from London, and it's not for our health. And when you find out who the Auschwitz people are, you'll know exactly where they come from, where they really come from. They tell you it's Germany, and it is, but it's really England. It really is. It's this aristocrat thing in Europe, and it's an old story, and they are very used to getting their way, and they have to control the financial system, and they feel like they need to put their boot on our necks somehow, and they just want feudalism, and they have to have it. And if they have to lie through their teeth day and night and destroy our lives, that's fine because they want feudalism and they want to have their heaven on earth, and the price does not matter to them. So I'm trying to make a very important point, and I am seeing things that sound crazy. I think hopefully they'll start to sound less crazy because I'm just going to go ahead and say them anyway. You can see very clearly that I'm odd, but I'm not crazy. So I am trying to prove that I was once Hortense de Beauharnais Bonaparte. And they even took the Bonaparte off her name, which I think is very interesting. And they did that to Josephine as well. Why did they take the name Bonaparte? It's ridiculous. Their last names were Bonaparte. So it's absurd the level of manipulation that goes on about the Napoleon system story. They won't even let his stepdaughter and his wife have their own last names. They take it. And I even have a French monarch document in my library where they took Napoleon out as a monarch of France. Who is doing this? Who is removing Napoleon from things? That's so 1984. They're like erasing him from history. Why are they doing this? Because they are his enemies. That's why. Because they are his enemies. They're the ones he was fighting. The story is completely backwards that they're telling you. They're telling you that Napoleon was the aggressor in all these wars in Europe. Oh, quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. Anyway, so the point is, I want people to know about Napoleon, and I'm so sure he is among us. I'm sure of it. Every day I'm more sure of it. And it is so shocking. I never in a million zillion years thought that Elvis Costello, who I like to call Cohen, King of America, Napoleon Dynamite. I like to call him Cohen. I don't like to call him Elvis Costello, but I respect very much everything about Elvis Costello. I think he's incredible. I just like having a need for him. I just want to look at him in a new way. So never in a million years would I ever think that I would have that he would even know that I exist. Absolutely not. I'm just so inured to this idea that celebrities or some kind of other planetary being, we can never talk to them. Who's creating this? They're just people. They are just people. Why is there this line, this incredible line? Because even before I was finagled into house arrest, double how by the bioterrorism publicity campaign and by having intimidation in my house and by having the Constitution infringed in my state. Okay, all of these things are being done by somebody. And I think that's the ones who are putting up this wall between us and this whole other group. And that group is kind of their special group. They're the ones who get the opportunities, they're the ones who get the money, they're the ones who get all the special pats on the head. Oh, but they better shush, 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 and play along with whatever organized crime wants, or else. And then how can they mix with us? They've been so changed, and they can't relate to us. They have a completely different reality than we do. I'm talking about what they call the elites. But I've been around the so-called elites my whole life. They're just people. It's fake that there's this huge divide, and I have tried to be friends with, I'm just gonna call them elites. My whole life, I've had very intense relationships with elites. I know what elites are, and I always could tell they had some secret. I could always tell they would go so far with me, and there was something they wouldn't tell me. And I was always wondering, how can they get all the opportunities and I don't? I always wondered about that. What is so special about them? And now I believe that it's all by design because our whole lives they've been engineering this chasm between us. And I can see very clearly right now, over the last 2 or 3 years, that every single thing has been done to put me at Cohen's throat. They've been pushing him into fascist collaborator traitor land. They're doing every single thing to make him look like the biggest sellout on the planet. I did play a role in highlighting this, but this is just what is being done to him. And I did it because I really cared about him, and I always cared about him, and I really want him to know. And I didn't think I could ever reach him. I didn't think he was reading. I have this invisibility spell on me, and sometimes I really don't even know. I have 0 views. Whatever I do is ignored. This does affect me that the criminal class, the real criminals, and I'm not talking about all the elites, I'm talking about the ones that are really criminals. I get that these other people feel they have to go along with it and they don't know how to survive otherwise. I understand that. We all need to figure out new ways to survive that don't involve placating and kissing the ring of organized crime. Okay? This is a serious problem. And all of us in the Hamptons and Manhattan and all that who are around money, no, we are overrun. This is a gangster's paradise. Woo, big time. Oh, you're not supposed to talk about that. Everything's wonderful. Fabulous Hamptons, right? This is all so you'll see things a certain way. So there's always been this gulf between me and this musician. And I just thought, oh, that's how it is. Everybody adores him like I do. And everybody wants to get near him, and nobody can get near him. That was my perception. I said, you know what? Enough of that. I'm not going to be on a permanent standby. Ridiculous. It was horrible. And the problem is because I cared about him so much and it made me so emotional. Everything about him makes me so emotional and um, I can't help it. So so now I realize why I've been just obsessed with him and I just love his music and I'm just totally obsessed with him. And it's nothing new. And then I'm totally obsessed with Napoleon. So it's very easy for me to see that the two people supposedly that I'm obsessed with are exactly the same as each other, pretty much, and the same as each other, and they're both out of reach to me. That's for sure. One's dead, and the other one is in Frankist entertainment land of the financiers, fascist collaborators. So he's over there, and I would just I I have to say, I have so many things to say tonight. Okay, that rant's over. I'm just gonna drop that one. So basically, I've been complaining here in the stream every night that I'm in this horrible situation. It's so uncomfortable. I feel like a stalker, a celebrity stalker. It's the last thing I would ever want to be. Ever be a celebrity stalker. It's terrible. But so I'm always on Cohen's YouTube, which the numbers make no sense. So they're doing to him what they're doing to me, I think. And then Eric Selheim, who's a German that translates Cohen's beautiful music into German. He does such a good job. I'm so impressed with him. And they give him like 0 views all the time. And he never gets views and he never gets subscribers and it never goes up. And he's an astonishingly brilliant musician and he's funny and he's witty. He's incredible. I'm such a fan of Eric Selheim's and I see that his numbers are ridiculous. And me, whatever I do, my numbers don't go up. Eric Selheim, whatever he does, his numbers don't go up. Cohen's numbers go up a teeny little bit, but there's no way they're going up that little. No way. And some other things are ridiculous. So I think we're developing quite the class action lawsuit situation where lying about us like that is it's illegal in so many ways, and it exposes the conspiracy and that the conspiracy is inside Google. So Google is YouTube. So these are serious things. And I think the people that work at Google and YouTube and everything are probably pretty upset that they work at an organized crime ridden place. But that's what we find when we learn the truth, that we're living under the thumb of organized crime. And obviously, if you know that, you don't want medical care from them. Clearly, once you understand who's running things, you most certainly don't want medical care from organized crime. And then they'll frame you, frame you into being a terrible person because you don't want medical care from organized crime. And then somehow they're gonna whip up a story with all their publicists, and I just watch them go. You know, like, oh, how are they gonna frame me into being a terrorist or something, or some kind of dangerous thing now? And I just watch them. I'm like, wow, nice try. You guys are really stretching yourselves with the stories you guys are coming up with, but they got to keep having those meetings. And we did a whole cartoon about all the publicist strategies that are thrown at me. So the publicists are kind of just organized crime a lot. Some of them I'm sure just advertising products, but some of them are really, and that's how I matched up what happens to me with the Podesta emails. So I matched up what they do to me to Victor Strasky, and then I matched up what they do to me in the Podesta emails, and that's what they do to me. So if you want to find out what I go through as a honest, law-abiding person who's well within my rights in the United States, and see all of the organized crime type harassment that I've been enduring, basically the whole project, Victor Ostrowski and the Podesta emails. And so don't believe me. Believe the original source material, which is uncontested as true. Victor Ostrowski might have been compromised to some degree, but I can corroborate. I'm not saying he was, but it's possible. Anything's possible. But I can corroborate that what he's saying in by way of deception is true, because they have thrown those strategies at me. So we have very serious organized crime embedded in many governments, probably all the governments. I think the reason all the governments are having their strings pulled by organized crime is that suddenly lockdown. Oh, lockdown. Everybody agrees. Oh, then why do we have wars? See, we have wars because they want them, and they want people dead, and they want to take their stuff, and they want to destabilize countries so they can take over more. There's no reason for wars. Everybody agreed to lockdown, right? So they have completely proven that they already run every single country. I thought that was interesting that they exposed themselves like that. Anyway, so I'm going to read. I'll go on forever, but I do have some things I have to say. I'm not getting to it. Basically, I've been complaining every night here that I'm in a very awkward position, and how can I prove these things to you? I can try, but they're not provable, obviously. And then I go on Cohen's YouTube, and he just threw up a new playlist, and he's so mysterious, as we all know, and he's so indirect. You never know what he's doing. So I went over this playlist, and I put up all the lyrics, and I put up all the performances I could find, and I did everything to mine the secrets of the playlist to see what is he telling us. Because if this is my twin flame Napoleon, there's nothing else in my life that could possibly hold my interest, and he's so fascinating. So please check out the blog to see the themes, and the theme is songs from this century. So these are his recent songs. These are the things that are on his mind, and it's so painful what he goes through. And all I can say is I want him out of this situation. You can just see how much it hurts him to be a collaborator. It kills him, and he can't be a collaborator. Napoleon can't be a collaborator, So that's so much of the the pain between us. But we're in a world where if you don't become a collaborator, you're never going to become anything. And that's Napoleon's going to become something. He's always going to become something. It's just the way Napoleon is. So if he would have to become a collaborator to become something, he would. And I think even that backs up what I'm saying, that he is Napoleon, but it's killing him, and he is very honest in spite of everything. And Napoleon was very honest, but Napoleon was willing to lie and scheme and do strategies and to do whatever it took to win. He was quite ruthless, but ultimately it was to help people. It really was. And he really did care about people. And he was just going to climb to the top and try to help people once he got there. That's Napoleon. And I see that in Cohen too, that he was just going to claw his way to the top and then try to help us. I see that he has tried to let us know that we live under organized crime and that we live in a incredibly deceptive. He has been telling us the whole time, and he has shown me this from his lists. I put up a 50 songs in 50 days list that he put up on Spotify last couple months ago. And I felt, well, if he's going to go through trouble doing one of his lists, I'm going to take a really close look at it. And sometimes I will get a little bit of a message out of him, even then, even though I was certainly not as open to him as I am now when I put up that Spotify list. But I still could kind of hear him a little bit. I have to admit that. Because he really is Napoleon. But I didn't realize that Napoleon was amongst us. I just thought I was just dealing with the ghost of Napoleon. But this whole thing is a mix-up. I can see that we're all extremely connected spiritually. So on his Spotify, I felt like he was saying almost, you got all this stuff from me. It's kind of what I heard him saying. Like, I'm the one who taught you all these things. So don't act like you're going to turn around on me. See, I'm still making it a little mean. I don't think it was mean, but I think he was saying I'm not really a sellout. He isn't really a sellout. I hear it. I hear him. It's sad. It's sad. I want him to have the career he wants to have, and I want him to be honest and have integrity and not have to go along with fascists who try to kill us. You know, this has been a horrible, horrible situation because they're maneuvering me into this radical populism paradigm that they've invented out of pure witchcraft, and then they're making the elites like the most fascist collaborators you could possibly imagine, just complete traitors. And it's neither is true. They're people who are trying to survive. Yes, they have had more than we did, and they did get more opportunities than we did. But I believe it was because they want us to fight now. And I know that the wonderful English government does this from country to country, where they let one group have everything and they let the other group serve that group. And I'm in the group that serves that group. See how it works? This is all old strategies that are being used today. They don't have new strategies. They're not very creative, but their strategies work because they're working over centuries, and we're working over just our little lifetimes. So we don't have the memory. That's why they don't like me teaching history, because then I give people that memory of what they do to us. So since I'm in the group that serves the rich group, they've been doing everything possible to get me to weaponize the people that like me, the other just regular people like me. And they are so desperate for me to throw all this hatred at the elites, because when I do that, I have credibility. People do believe me, and I can create that huge fight that they want because they don't have any credibility and no one believes them. But people believe me. So it's so important to them that I join Q and I join Trump and I become this creator of hatred towards the elites, because I'm in the group that served them. So I should have so much resentment. I couldn't have a career. I couldn't I couldn't do much because I wasn't one of them, but I had to serve them. So I would have so much resentment. I would never support an elite. I would never say these things. I should be just saying the elites are evil. Go get them. That's what they want. This is all on purpose. This is all malicious. This is aristocratic stuff since a long time ago, maybe Babylon, Egypt, Italy. This is all the way they control humanity. And I wonder if this project has been so messing them up that they haven't really been able to run their strategies with any sense of subtlety. And they need subtlety. They can't lack subtlety because everything they do is about sneaking around and hiding. And they haven't been sneaking around and hiding at all. They've been too crazed. So now we can see them. They need to get caught so we can get free and we can move on. And so please look at these songs and see what Cohen's saying about his own life. This is a special list he put together. And what I hear him saying from this list is keep going. And you're right. That's what I hear. And see if you hear that too. He's quietly supporting me, and I will take any support I can ever get from him under any circumstances because I'm so grateful for anything that he does. I just admire him so much. And I thank him very much for everything he does for me. He can't call me and he can't email me and he can't talk to me. But he still does a lot for me. I have to say that. And I appreciate it so much. It's unbelievable how much I appreciate it. So please listen to those songs and understand how he feels about the situation he's in. He doesn't want to be a collaborator, not one bit. He shows you and he's warning you and he wants you to stand up to them. And I want you to stand up to them and I want to stand up to them. I can't live like this. So he's going to appear on stage soon. And I really want to say something about that. Back in the day, I couldn't talk to him or reach out to him or anything because he has this like management around him, isolating him. And of course, he would have wanted to talk to me. I'm like the biggest fan of Napoleon. He's obviously Napoleon. So, but even if he wasn't Napoleon, he's obviously very interested in Napoleon. So I think he always would have wanted to talk to me. So he's got this kind of gate around him. So I could never reach out to him in any way. I guess only other elites can get to him. Isn't that interesting? This is all by design. The elites are being engineered into this position. This is all because they want this fight. They know exactly what they're doing. Okay? Do not fight with the elites. Let's clear up organized crime. The elites are not the problem. It's the organized crime that has maneuvered them into a situation where they can't say no and they don't know how to live. And nor do I. We all don't know how to live. We're all dependent on this this fake world they've created. So we need to change. We need to change. So he's going to appear at this incredible event in New Orleans, and I did get to go once, and it was a memorable experience. And I know he loves New Orleans, so I thought it was so nice to see him there. It meant a lot to me. I cry. My point is, it was bad enough before. I could actually see him in a concert. Now I can't even see him in concert. To show you how high the walls are between me and him, and how, do you really think that this all just so happened to happen during this period where we're being driven to opposite sides of the fake debate? And now I can't even see him because I don't want to take a product from organized crime, definitely from organized crime, for a malady that cannot be proven in court, doesn't exist legally whatsoever. This is all a big publicity stunt, basically, that's been wonderful for certain people and has been terrible for everyone else, but it's been fantastic for the people who paid for it. Maybe not. Maybe they're a little nervous now. You see, it's up to us whether this publicity stunt was wonderful or terrible for them. That's up to us. You see? If we let them get away with it, we can wait for the next horrible thing that they come up with. They have only a few strategies, but they're pretty devastating when they roll them out because they have all that money to put those rules on us. So even if they are tired out old strategies, they can still hurt us with them. Yeah, it's terrible. So now I can't even be in the audience because I don't want to jeopardize my health. What for the heroic community? What is this? What's the story? Exactly. These stories are BS. Of course, they're BS. Duh, they're BS. Of course. I know it's hard to believe that so many people could be bribed, but you have to understand the financial system. They have all the money. So it's very easy for them to bribe everybody. And then anyone who doesn't want to go along with it can be blacklisted and have their career destroyed, like me. See? So it's not that hard for them to have a conspiracy that big when they have all the money and all the media and all education and all the governments. It's very easy for them to pull off a stunt like this. It's just hard for people that are hypnotized by television all the time. It's just very hard for hypnotized television people to like, what? They don't want to go there. And who does? Nobody. Anyway, so he is going to be at the New Orleans Jazz Festival in a few days. And I'm sure it's going to be amazing. And I want people to know that I can't even be in the audience because I don't want to take a product that literally killed my mother. It killed my mother. She was okay. She took it and then she died. Okay, so this is a sometimes poisonous product. They're still pushing on people, and all the elites are like, go take it. This is all a setup. This is all a setup. The whole thing is a setup. Please help me get free. Help me get free of these stories and organized crime, and let's start really standing up for ourselves and letting organized crime know that we outnumber them. We don't want to live under the thumb of organized crime. We're all so sick of it. We're all so sick of just they get everything, we get nothing. It's not the elites and the people, it's the organized crime and everybody else. And I'm not even talking organized crime. Even organized crime are elites in a messed up situations. I know this. It's the top ones. It's the top ones. We're all just in this world where we kind of have to go along with crime to live. That's all of us. All of us. All of us. It's just I'm so fed up. I can't I I would rather die than go along with organized crime. Everybody I think knows this by now. I know that I am risking my life. I know I'm angering all the people who can get away with murder. Like daring them to kill me practically, but it's because I cannot live like this. This is hell to me. And it gets worse. I used to be able to pine for Elvis Costello in an audience. Now I can't even do that. It's so sad. Me and lots of others, unfortunately. So it's also, what can I do? So, you understand. So, now I can't even see him in an audience. So the walls are like, they're getting bigger all the time. Why? Because they're flipping out. They are terrified. This is Napoleon. I'm Ortiz. I proved it already. I'll prove it again. These are things that I don't even read ahead of time. That's how sure I am of this. So I'm going to read you. I think I covered everything. I think I have talking points. I do have a producer on this show, which is pretty funny, but I'm a very high level producer of my stream. Anyway, I'm doing my best. So I'm going to read these 2 letters. From Napoleon to his stepdaughter, Hortense. Hortense was someone Napoleon was never going to sleep with, but She was his twin flame, and I think it turned him kind of promiscuous and into a love addict because he was so incredibly frustrated about the fact that his soulmate was his stepdaughter, and then he turned his stepdaughter into his sister-in-law. It just says so much that he did that because she did not want to marry his brother. So he knows he's going to divorce Josephine, and he can't lose her under any circumstances. So now she's the mother of his nephews. You know, she can never leave him. That says everything. Because I'm trying to prove a couple things. One, that Napoleon and Hortense were twin flames. You know, not easy, but I've been doing my best to prove it. And then that me and Napoleon are twin flames. Then I'm Hortense, you know, so that's also hard. And now I got to roll this Cohen thing. And so it just got so much weirder. But I'm happy about it. I just think we need to get used to accepting that some really weird things are true and that we're programmed to think that this is so crazy. This isn't crazy. It's wonderful and it's exciting. And I think I can prove this like all day, all year that it's the same personality and it's two extremely eccentric people. So they're not normal at all. And they're I don't want to say it's a lot of words that aren't nice for eccentric, but they're eccentric as it gets, and they're both eccentric in the same exact way. And I love the way they're eccentric, but not everybody does love that kind of like intensity. And they're menacing, and they're like, don't mess with them, and they're scary, you know? They're so talented, and they just like know more than everybody else. It's a it's a very specific kind of person, so talented, so cultured, artistic, kind, but scary and dangerous. It's a very specific person, but he ultimately is kind. Just don't get on his bad side. And so many of the songs that he just put up on that playlist, like, don't mess with him. I don't think anybody should mess with him right now because I know he's Napoleon and I know how mad he is. Ooh, I think I'm gonna say this. I think because they repress us so hard, the backlash is gonna be unbelievable. Now, if they just let us have a little freedom, but no, the way they have been blacklisting me and trapping us and lying to us, they've turned it up and they thought we were gonna kill each other about it. No, we're not. No, we're gonna start enforcing the law. And really, whoever that person is, that bribed person that's shutting down law enforcement, that person's not our friend. Okay, that person is in the way of our future. That person is why the gulf between me and my twin flame is growing. And he can't even have the honest people that like him. They can't even see him now. A lot of honest people love his work because he is quite honest. So now honest people can't see him anymore. This is so whatever deal he made got a lot worse, didn't it? Now he can't even include most of his fans in his audiences. This is atrocious. And I know it's a lot of why he's so mad. Oh, but he can't talk because he can't talk, you know? He can't talk. So he talks to me. He talks to me, and I love hearing everything he says. I'm interested in every word. Everything he says is fascinating to me, and I am shocked by it. And I love, 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 love listening to him. I love listening to him. It's such a privilege to hear anything from him. So I really am talking to him. I know it's him. I just do. It's him. It's Napoleon, and it's this English person. Wonderful English person. Very wonderful. And proud to be English. So English. So English. So English. It's deeply English. Anyway, it's really funny. So it's just to me, you know, English Napoleon blows my mind. And music. Would Napoleon love music? Anyway, so I'm gonna read these letters. So two short little letters. And he's not romantic with the stepdaughter, but you have to read between the lines. My dear little girl, I was glad to get your letter. You know how fond I am of you. The Queen tells in her memoirs that I have received. I'm a little off. Here we go. This is the letter I meant to read. I have received, my dear little Hortense, the letter from Napoleon, in which I recognize all his mother's tenderness and affection. I hope that as he grows up, he may learn all that he must know in order to be worthy of his future position. Goodbye, my dear little girl. You know that I shall always love you as much as I have since your childhood. Napoleon, Vienna, 22nd Premier. Okay, so Napoleon keeps referring to this childhood, or at least youth thing. This is the second time he mentions it. Napoleon met her at 12, okay? He's insane. He met her at 12 years old. Okay, there's no early childhood whatsoever going on here. So he is adding that to my two little girls. He loved her so much. So that's the example. That's his voice. That's how he is with someone that he can't have but adores. So that's his situation. And now we're going to get into Cohen's memoirs. See if we have a match. We always do. Yesterday was very military in its writing. And not only was it military in his writing, it was all about him being a drunk fool who had ashes put in his mouth while he was sleeping with his mouth open from one of the, where is it? One of the damned Dafter members was putting ashes in his mouth and lighting his shoelaces on fire. So let's continue from there. There usually wasn't this much camaraderie among the London bands. Encountering another outfit was like a prelude to a gunfight in a western, all preening and posturing. Occasionally, it really spilt over into childish fisticuffs, but then there were always provocateurs on hand. Maybe it felt different if you hung around the West End punk scene. I lived out in the suburbs, earning just enough money for rent and to feed the family, where news of the impending musical apocalypse has seemed as distant as if you had been living in Cleethorpes or Weston Supermare. The next time I encountered the Clash was in the summer of 1979 while they were recording London Calling. I'd gone to Wessex Sound Studios to scope it out as a possible location for recording the Special's first album, which I was about to produce. Back in early 78, I'd asked Mick Jones to play on our next single, Pump It Up, and someone started the ridiculous rumor that we were actually trying to poach him to be the Attraction's lead guitarist. And since then, there had been a little bit of a hands-off attitude between our managers. Idea was never remotely in my mind, and we didn't even end up using Mick's guitar on Pump It Up, although he did play a great part. It sounded like police sirens on Big Tears, the B-side of the single. Now Mick was out on the studio floor with the volume and the reverb on his amp cranked all the way up to obliterate. I thought to myself, that'll never work. But when London Calling came out, I couldn't believe how great everything sounded. I was completely and utterly wrong. It sounded ragged and thrilling. I think records starting getting better again because everyone was dropping that tedious post that there was no past. You could hear that the Clash were raiding their record collections for anything that they could turn into new songs. Jerry Dammers was doing the same thing with his songs for the Specials album. When we met, the first single, Gangsters, was already on the charts before Jerry's publisher realized that it was essentially Prince Buster's Al Capone with new words added. Later that summer, we would pull the same trick over and over again while recording Get Happy in Hilversum, Holland. Our first attempts to record my new songs for that album came out sounding like someone doing a bad impersonation of us in 1978. I went to the Rock On, the secondhand record shop in Camden Town, and bought every old Stax 45 that they had on their shelf and carried them home to plunder. It never occurred to me that I had ended up in the front room with a stack of singles to learn, just like my dad had done. Almost everything we needed to arrange new songs was pilfered from that pile of old records. A lot of pop music has come out of people failing to copy their model and accidentally creating something new. The closer you get to your ideal, the less original you sound. Our cracked handed, wired up attempts to play like bands we heard on Motown and Atlantic compilations were just enough to get us away from our cliches. But back then, I was dreaming of being anyone but myself. It's very interesting. So honest. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Have a good night.